When we were still planning our move to United States, I started drawing plans of my new workshop or something, and I understood that now I have 2 workbenches. One of them is mostly covered with 3D printers, and I stole our dining table for my stuff as well. And when I'm taking orders, I'm also using the coffee table. So yeah, it just spread all around the living room. My business, because my workshop is in the living room. But yeah, I started to count, and I understood that I need at least 4 or 5 workbenches to work on the current orders and projects, and then I need some additional space for the printers. So yeah, I will need a lot of space.
You know what helped me a lot? It was to go for a stroll in IKEA.
Yeah.
Especially in Holland.
Yeah.
You learn, like, they have all these ideas that you can apply.
How to fit everything, yeah.
Yeah, about how to use space. It's I use a lot of the ideas.
Yeah.
But you need a lot, because you have all the machinery, so you need space, in between the machines, and also to be able to process, take it out, things, and disassemble. But it's possible, like, for example, you see Benjamin's working space is fantastic.
Yeah.
But he's doing the production, although he's had like the other kind of the bookbind is smaller, more, refined work. And he has this really refined boxes, but his space is brilliant.
Yeah, his space is amazing, that's true.
And there is other people here, with a fantastic space, but you have to consider what you want to do with, what's the quantity you can handle, and then you decide it.
Yeah.
I would like to have more space.
Yeah, that's true.
At the moment, I can't.
Yeah, I was so upset when we were stranded with our move, because I was already living in my mind in this new larger workshop space, which will be, I don't know, 50 square meters, something, I don't know, large.
It will come. The patient will come.
Yeah.
This is a very frustrating time for a lot of people. I had things planned, even like a chemistry course planned over 8 weeks via the University of Amsterdam, and not going forward. And then another course that we organized via the Restaurateur Nederlands. It was kind of an afternoon about coloring paper.
Yeah.
It was very nice, thing, and it's not going forward. So it's a lot of things. It's frustrating.
That's really frustrating, but that's really good cue, because we wanted to talk a bit about further education and constantly improving your skills and keeping up to date. And you mentioned some of the organizations here, but maybe you can talk a bit more about that, because it's a really important issue, especially as we discussed earlier, because the field evolves like every month.
It is very important if you want to take sales, or if you just want to learn from people with more experience than you. Professional associations are very good place to go, and at least to contact them or to follow them on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. I am a member of the Restaurateur Nederlands, and I had done a lot of very interesting professional courses via them.
Yeah.
That helped me a lot to go further, because you have to commit to constant education.
Yeah.
The other ones that I as well am a member of is IADA, it's this paper and book restorers, and ICON, in the UK. People say, what is the advantage of that? Knowledge. It's not only network, but they organize events, they're organizing courses, that are very important, that would recycle your knowledge and then refine your knowledge.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of them sometimes, you needed to do kind of invest on books and studying, and some other ones you start like, it sheds a light, it gives away. I think already for a month or so, Econ has all these conservators webinars for free.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
It's really nice, and in their website is for free. You can access all the recordings afterwards.
Yeah.
So a couple of things is a little bit more, not my field or not my level, but just to go there and to listen, these like really top professionals talking about a specific subject. It is fascinating, and it's kind of a PowerPoint presentation, and the person goes via Zoom, so you can do live or you can get the recording out.
Yeah.
If you speak Spanish, the University of Granada was also putting a series of webinars.
Okay.
And very, very, very particular, very interesting. So you were you are home, kind of stranded, but there is no reason not to go further and study.
Yeah, exactly. That's the subject we touched on with Ben 2 weeks ago, because now it's really great time to study more, to learn more, to find out more new things. And in ordinary times there are lots of online materials and YouTube courses. Some of them are not good, but there are many good courses. You just need to choose well. But these days there are even more courses, because many organizations opened up their archives, you mentioned Icons courses, or for example, American Guild of Book Workers opened their archive, and it's still open until the end of May, because they prolonged the access to it, and you can find information on their. I think there is information on their website, but definitely there is information on Facebook, and there is multitude of different courses and lectures they opened, and it's amazing because it touches all the different subjects, from some simple bookbinding structures to I think even book conservation. I'm not sure about book conservation. They definitely talked about book repairs, but it's a great opportunity to become a better person.
And if you're a good detective, once you get, for example, the name of someone that you admire, that you find fascinating, that's a good lead for you to learn more, try to check it out what this person follows, on social media.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of almost a stalker kind of that. But then if you notice that, where the interests lead and where the source of information comes from.
Yeah.
So it's just like I didn't know a lot of the sources. I started okay, I like the work of this person, what this person is interested on, what did they get the information, and from that I started getting more where to get some more information. Okay, you don't get everything, but you can get a really nice things. But please avoid the Micmac YouTube tutorial about how to fix the book. Those things that you have to learn with the teacher.
Yeah.
I when I see those things, I'm like,
Yeah.
But there is a lot of things there. So if you're home, if you're bored, just start surfing. On the net, you will find some really nice.
Even if you are not bored.
I haven't had it. When I'm bored and I want a little bit of time off, I go gaming.
Yeah. Okay.
I like video gaming.
Yeah. It's funny because about gaming, because we have completely different games with Sophia that we play in, and completely different styles. For example, Sophia recently downloaded some game about skateboarding. And she was like, "Oh, I played a similar game when I was a child, and I love it." And I'm looking like, I wouldn't play this game, like, never. Because,
which games do you play?
But I like lots of economic strategic games like Transport Tycoon or SimCity or anything with trains and building and that stuff. But then I like
I play Ebony.
Yeah. Then I like turn-based strategies like Civilization or XCOM. And one of my favorites that was a bit step out of my comfort zone was Horizon Zero Dawn, that is on PlayStation. It's a huge open world role-playing game, and I usually don't play role-playing games, but this one is so beautiful and so well done that I'm waiting the second chapter. which was supposed to be launched either this year or next year with new PlayStation, but now with all this coronavirus stuff, I don't even know if they will launch the new PlayStation this year, because
well, I played basically online with the tablet.
Yeah.
I like to play the Stephanie, the King's Return.
Yeah.
What I like it is because you interacting live with people from all over the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I am a hilarious alliance. You know,
Yeah.
we are
Yeah.
pretty much all the same level.
Yeah.
There is some people that are a little bit more. In one of the youngest servers from the game.
Yeah.
But we have people from New Zealand to Canada, you know, and everything in between, and it is really fantastic. People, we have a really good laugh, even we go splat.
Yeah.
This is a way for me to relax, and I got out of the computers into the computing. Now I miss the computers and I go play games.
I think Sofia also likes this type of games because she was playing some text-based role-playing games even in the late 90s when she was just a small child, and my path was a bit different. But what's funny, just a few weeks ago we were discussing, she wanted to play some Heroes of Might and Magic or something similar to that, and we were looking for the game, and I was like, okay, there is Magic the Gathering, the card collection game, and I played Magic the Gathering in 1990, from 1997 to 2002, something like that, for 5 years in my high school and early university years. And Sophie told me, okay, I also played Magic the Gathering some 20 years ago, but she was like 10 then at that moment. And we were discussing how it was harder to play then, and I was like, we can try playing Magic the Gathering now, just two of us, like an evening pastime. And I bought some cards, and we started playing it, and it's so much fun. It's so amazing how good it is. And now I sort of returned to my my old forgotten mania of collecting Magic the Gathering.
Actually, that isn't like I noticed in the TV a lot of new ads, for board games.
Yeah.
Because people are like, I'm lucky I have a garden, so if I'm not playing games and working, I'm gardening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like bonsais, so I get the seeds and I grow trees. Yeah. But I like that, so I'm lucky, with that. But a lot of our people, they are getting board games and games all over again because what to do? You want to distract yourself a bit as well. Yeah, like I leave work. I'm very, very regular with my work.
Yeah.
I do not work on weekends. For interview, it's difficult to work from home.
That's a new practice for me because I started with my therapist a year ago. This process when I was really upset with myself when I allowed myself to have a rest during my working day, even if I was tired or if I felt that I can't work at this moment, and I punished myself a lot about that. And it was a long process to pass through this thing, and now it's much better. But the previous weekend when we had the King's Day, so it was a long weekend, I decided, okay, I'm not working all these 3 days, and I'm not feeling bad about it. And it was such an amazing time. I can't say that I didn't work at all because I edited some videos or something, but I didn't do any work related to my business. Working on orders, printing stuff and all that things. And this past weekend I also did the same. Before that I only had Saturday as my day off. On Sunday I usually did some stuff. These past 2 weekends it was completely dedicated to resting or alternative activities. So yeah, and it's an amazing feeling, and I find that especially now it's very important because it's really hard to not to lose yourself in your work. And once again, returning to Magic the Gathering, I found it that when we sit, I don't know, it's 10 or 11 in the evening, we sit and play several games. It makes really good separation between your workday and sleep. That's one more reason I am really happy that we found the Magic the Gathering at this precise moment. So yeah, because it really
helps you with the rhythm. And I tell you, I am like someone that had a really big burnout. So balance so important. In the beginning, I felt I know what's the guilt thing, because when I started here, I was just getting out of the burnout. I had to think, I have to work, I have to produce, I have to bring money and do this and that. And at a certain point, my husband was like, I think, wait a second, and me.
Yeah.
And my friends were like, when are we going to have a beer together? This is the point. But people think that working from home is easy. It's not.
Yeah.
Because the work is just behind, and you're like, he's over there. Just I'm going to say, I have to finish that. You have to disconnect in your head, and you have to lose this guilt feeling. So nowadays, when it comes Friday, at 5 o'clock, unless it's something very, very, very important, and I really have no other option but to go a little bit through. Yeah. I close the doors. Yeah. I clean my place, I close the doors, and I will just reopen on Monday. Of course there are exceptions. But I try not to overwork during the day. So pretty much when my husband comes from work, I know that that's my cue.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, but sometimes it's really hard not to overwork, not to work on weekends. But yeah.
My father taught me one thing very important in business about the extra time. He would tell me all the time, extra time is for extraordinary things. If you always and constantly doing overtime, there are two reasons for that. You're understaffed or you're not organized.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And it is true.
I'm understaffed.
Me too.
That's by the way the other thing I was really looking forward, because I thought that when we move to the US I will find an employee who will take some of the responsibilities away from me. I don't know, picking orders or doing some stuff, and because routine is always I hate routine, and I found ways to cope with it. I mix the activities. I do something for, I don't know, for an hour, then I switch to a different activity, and this way it feels much better for me. But still, I hate routine, and some things I want to give to a different person, and I'm ready to pay for that. But yeah, here
I don't like washing the dishes.
here at the moment it's not possible, so I'm really waiting for that move.
One of the things that I don't like to do is the tax report.
Oh yeah.
You
I waited until the
my husband, he's an accountant as well.
Yeah.
So the final points that he does it, but I have to prepare all the paperwork for him before he gets. Yeah. It's not very pleasant.
I waited with my tax reports, income tax and first quarter tax, until something like 20th of April, and it was like last days before
deadline. Yeah.
Deadline,
but not exactly.
Yeah, I had only like 10 days to finalize the report, but then
it's just like going and typing, getting all the data, getting all the invoices and noting, and so it's just like, okay, I'm not big enough, to have a program enough to do the accounting, so I do it in a kind of very simple way, and he does the rest. Luckily.
I guess we can move now to discuss the news. Collection of DC comics that is on sale at Sotheby's right now. A person collected 40,000 comic books from DC, starting with 1934 and ending in 2014. So it's 80 years of
golden age.
yeah, all the comics books that were published by DC Comics throughout these 80 years. I know that you like comics, so I thought maybe we can discuss these topics a bit.
Yeah, I think that the comics thing comes also like that article that I wrote,
Yeah,
about the collecting
Yeah.
and the conservation issue. Despite all, I really like comics. I like it since I was a child, and I never stopped liking. But it is a completely different collecting approach than book collecting.
Yeah,
They are completely different worlds.
Yeah.
And even terminology is different.
it's very like with any other collectibles. Yeah, there is this market for collectibles. Like once again, playing cards of all the sorts, and I don't know, baseball cards, and comics fit into this category, not to the category that books take.
No, because they are considered ephemera. Ephemera comes from the Greek word. That means it's not made to last.
Yeah.
And they still produce in that way, despite the knowledge of technology on paper, on degradation, and everything. No, it's ephemera. It is something that will pass. Publishers would give you more importance to the effect that you have with the new book. Than how good that paper is in the long run. The old books, the old comics that can be absolutely bloody expensive. They are in a very fragile state because the paper was the worst paper ever. It was something that was you come during the week, you got that comic, you read and off it goes.
Especially for the US, 1934. 30s was what the time of depression and cuts in prices and materials and all this stuff. So and the comics were one of the cheapest materials a person could buy for the entertainment. So understandably they were made with really cheap materials and.
And then it is understandable, like you can never take the economics out of the whole path of collecting. It is books. Or if it is comic books or other things, there is always economics behind.
Yeah.
One of the most fascinating courses about economics and history bookbinding, I had with the Dr. Nicholas Pickwoad from the UK, from the Legatus.org. And he said, the trade is connected to the craft is connected to the trade.
Yeah.
And if to understand why the quality of certain books and comic books are the way they are, you have to understand what's going on at that time. What's the business going on? Because people are not doing that for art. That's purely business.
Yeah.
And nowadays we collect things, and then sometimes like I think, we're gonna be in what's the mint condition for like a 1940 comic book. A mint condition would be still a fragile book.
Yeah.
It's different from a mint condition book from 1970s.
Yeah, that's true. Time passes, paper degrades, materials change, of course.
And paper is tricky.
Yeah.
Paper is a very tricky thing because there's so much into paper.
Yeah.
I also the part that I always say, the constant course, the constant knowledge, that you have to gather. I did once a paper clinic with a lady in the Netherlands, Marchelma van Breugel, from Snippert, and she makes this paper clinic where you're gonna test, properties of paper.
Yeah.
Shrinkage, it's just acidity, how it behaves. And the variety of paper is huge, and the amount of tests that we could do it was fascinating. But it sheds you a light about why certain things, when sometimes certain papers, when you use it, doesn't work, doesn't give you the effect. Yeah, paper is tricky, but it's nice.
Yeah.
Actually, it's my favorite thing to work with.
Okay. And so, did you see the news about the blue ink? Because I browsed through a couple of articles, but I guess
I saw it a bit. I found it fascinating, but it's just like I didn't go into too much into detail.
Okay.
Because normally what happens, I read, I put it into my mind that consideration, but inks is inks, aquarels on paper, I do not do myself. I don't have the technique.
Yeah.
That normally I outsource. So I read it about. I go over the subject, and for me, I do this. I read a lot of things for me, at least to know that if I want to talk to someone, I will have an idea.
Yeah, I guess I can ask Rita next week, because the ink was used in the Mediterranean region, and that's sort of her area.
Oh, Rita is a lot of fun. Yeah. I had a course with her. I think it was last year. It was her and Amparo Escolano. Amparo, she's in Florida.
Yeah.
Is a Spanish conservator. She's in the area more like the paintings, and the graphic arts. Rita also does some of a graphic on paper.
Yeah.
And she's a conservator in Spain, and she's very funny as well. She's a very nice teacher. Those teachers that are not, do not hold back. When you start asking, they just give you more information, and you learn more and more and more. She made a presentation about tracing paper and how the conservation of a tracing paper.
Yeah.
Especially those ones using in architecture design, drawings. Very, very, very interesting, and how do you deal with that? Because they're very tricky.
Yeah.
And I do not do myself. I would get if it comes something like that, I would send to another colleague.
Yeah. Tracing paper is really a mess. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are also ways to unfold. When they're like those drawings, they are all rolled up, and if you try to unfold them, they will break.
Yeah.
That is the method for that. And then some colleagues that from the Erfgoed Leiden, Edith Greuter and Alexander Nederlof, and they worked in a big project that they had a lot of of these drawings to prepare, to flatten. They used the technique that they presented in the Yada convention last year, showing how it is done. So paper is tricky. All paper.
Yeah.
So Rita would be a lot of fun.
Okay, so let's move on to Q&A section of our podcast. We've got several questions for Eliane, and at least one question that I will answer. The first question comes from paperetceteras.
Okay.
My question is, what is like working with glues, and how difficult is it understanding paper as a bookbinder? As a bookbinder friend would say, it's tricky working with paper.
Yes, it's tricky because working with paper is not only that you have to learn. I talked about a paper clinic that I went to understand other properties of paper, but to understand when paper was produced, how it was produced, what kind of properties this paper has, acidity, shrinkage, how heavy, hay fever. Then and how all these would react with glues. And glues, there are different kinds of glues. You have the PVA, you have the starch glue, you have methylcellulose, common methylcellulose, gelatin, fish lime glue, and other animal-based glues. So it depends on what you're gonna do it. And of course, some glues are better than other ones to use.
Yeah.
Who knows a lot about this is Benjamin. Benjamin and glues. And for example, if you will work a starch paste, that's very easy and cheap to make. But this is tricky. It's very humid.
Yeah.
And
spoils
paper.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah. Paper is reactive. Paper is not there are so many different types of paper, so that it's tricky. And experience will help. Trial and error if you can afford it. Yeah. That's how I learned as well. Sometimes I have some paper and I put some glues and I see how the paper reacts. Understand the grain direction. because that is very important.
Yeah, because paper swells when it gets wet and then it shrinks. So it's very important in which direction it swells and shrinks.
Yeah. My advice for people that sometimes get a piece of paper that they do not know how the paper is reacting, if you can get part of the paper, cut it in smaller pieces, and try to see how it reacts.
Yeah.
Observe how it reacts with the glue you have there.
Yeah. So we also touched upon this subject of paper reacting with glues while we were talking with Ben Elbel. It was a different question about covering books with decorative types of papers, because different decorative types of papers are really tricky and thin, and they react funky on different types of glue, and especially on starch paste. And we also talked about things that PVA can be moisturized or dried just a bit, and it affects how PVA works as well, because drier PVA dries quickly, and if you add water or some solution to PVA, it dries slower, and it affects your work, and you can control how you work with different types of glue depending how much water and other solutions you add to the mix.
And don't forget that PVA, there is not just one formula for PVA. There are different formulas.
Yeah.
There are formulas that will hold the moisture longer.
Yeah.
So it is good for things that you want the tissue to move while you're working.
Yeah.
And there are some PVAs that will dry extremely fast. I love them for boxes because you put it, you clamp it, the thing is done.
Yeah, that's true.
And sometimes what you can get, if it is a type of PVA that it is dries very fast, you can add it up a little bit of water, dilute a bit.
Yeah.
So we will lose a little bit of the power, but it will give you a little bit more time to work. But if the long one that takes a long time, you have to be patient.
Yeah, exactly. So
test.
Yeah,
the best thing is to test.
Yeah, to test, to try the paper.
Environment circumstances also have an impact. How dry, how cold is the day, how humid is your environment. All these will have an impact on glue and paper. Yeah, exactly. And sea level also influences, because the air thickness and once again humidity. So all these factors should be counted for. Yeah, sometimes certain papers are so tricky to use that when sometimes they really want that paper, or that's the paper that I have to use. Sometimes I use layers of a press, so you glue it and then you put something like a thick felt. Yeah. I'll show you one. Thick pieces of felt. Okay. Yeah. So you can use this one against, to try to absorb the humidity. Yeah. And press. Yeah, and if you have to do this, actually, it's better not to buy this paper again. Yeah. Sometimes you have to work with some sort of paper, but if you choose some sort of paper for your own projects, you'd better choose the paper that works well and wouldn't make you a lot of troubles. Yeah, because sometimes it's like, I know, I did some experiments that ended up really wrong. Yeah, exactly. Let's move on to the next question. Question from Elin Dalstål. What is the most unusual, unexpected material or tool you like to use for bookbinding or book restoration? Okay, that's cool. I like that. Actually, the most unusual tool that I've been lately using in restoration is an airbrush. Okay. People think about modeling, little cars building up. Painting. I've been using that to color edges of the book, coloring paper for restoration, coloring leather as well, because you can distribute, but you have to be very firm. It's a bit of practicing. Yeah. But I have the things from the dentist. I have one thing that if people are not from restoration, they do not know. It is, I'm trying to unlock my safe together. It is this machine. Yeah. It's a tackle iron. Yeah. Conservators, for them, this is a commonplace. You have temperature here. this is also something that's unusual. That's not something that you normally people show very often.
Yeah.
All sort of little tools. And in bookbinding, special leathers like chicken foot.
Okay.
You can use. They have beautiful patterns.
Never seen this one used before.
No,
No.
like you can use if you're doing mosaic.
Yeah.
I
I have some frog skin, but yeah, that's
Yeah, they're beautiful. Or snake skin.
yeah.
I'll show you one.
Oh, I also have
This
some
snake-
lizard skin or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's snake skin, and what I do it to give a little bit more strength to
Yeah.
the I'll put some things. You see, there is a nice structure,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I back up with silk.
Okay. Okay. So that's why you
So I
can see
have a
through.
backing.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
silk. Okay.
That's the tip that I've learned from a bookbinder in Belgium, Tom van Kamp, during a workshop. So she gave me this idea that if certain leathers are very, what's called fragile, you can back up with silk. Silk is very strong.
Yeah.
Then I have one that is really fun that I haven't used yet. Do not know yet where I'm gonna use. Is the feet of an ostrich in blue.
Okay.
It's beautiful. It's this big and you have, but
It's-
this is
it's
things that
big.
you're gonna use. Sorry?
It's big. Is it big?
Yeah, just a second.
Oh wow, it's huge.
Yeah. Well, they are big birds.
Yeah.
So they have a beautiful structure
Yeah.
as well.
It reminds me of a face hugger from Eliane or something like that.
I already used one of the things. I had a tree. I used you one.
Yeah.
But this is very unusual. Or cow with stomach.
Okay.
Very difficult to get. It has also kind of a structure
Yeah.
to it. But like they're not as strong, what's called skins.
Yeah.
So, not only to talk about salmon skin, eel.
Yeah.
You have all this. This is very unusual. For in bookbinding, you can do some beautiful decoration, especially on mosaic and on lace. You can use that one. So I did a couple of things with this, for the bookbinding. You can use pretty much anything that you want for bookbinding, actually.
When I was studying at the American Academy of Bookbinding with Don Glaister, he told us that he loves to experiment with materials and to implement all the different types of materials into his bindings, into the covers, plastics, wood, metals, different types of leather, so natural materials, artificial materials, anything. The only tricky thing is to find the glue that will keep all this stuff together, because all the different materials react differently. And so, for example, he told us that when he uses mylar or plexiglass in his covers, he sends the inner side of this plastic material just a bit, so it will stick on the glue. And when you put it on the glue masks all this sanded surface and make it flat, so it still becomes transparent. So it sticks.
I have
but
a
it's
different
then,
solution for that.
yeah.
That is a very nice one, but if you can, there is a kind of strips of glue called Beaver. I always forget the number.
Okay.
It is called Beaver 371 film.
Yeah.
This is very good to glue mylar, but you need heat.
Okay.
It's a strip.
Yeah.
Where there are two parts. You're gonna peel one part, glue it, then you take it out the peel, and then you put the other part and you glue it. It gets it's transparent.
Okay.
So I can send you this one. But that is a fun thing. Each bookbinder store, they will have some other ways to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to deliver the same results sometimes.
And especially in different countries, because different materials are available, different materials are standardized by the conservation community and organizations, local, national organizations. So yeah, approaches differ.
Yeah, but that's why like the communication is nice. It's the same. Yeah, you know that the same thing that we used to fill up the capsules of medicines, microcellulose.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah.
You can use in book restoration as well.
Yeah.
You know, for myself, which is nice. I like the standing thing. I'm gonna try actually.
Okay. So I guess this answered this question.
And if anybody wants any other question more in depth, they can always write me.
Yeah. Either, I guess, email through the website or on Instagram. I will definitely post the links below the video.
Yeah, I'm very easy with sharing what I know, so shoot it. I'll answer.
That's great.
If I know.
So yeah, and that's really important because I talked with some bookbinders and they shared experiences from their lives that not only not often teachers who teach apprentices are willing to share their sort of secrets. Sometimes they even teach their apprentices wrong stuff. So they would be the only so they would be the only people who know the secrets, and the apprentices will have to rely on their teachers for a long time.
Yeah.
And when I first heard about that, my mind was blown because it's just what the hell?
It is, it's like what the hell, you know? It's just for me it doesn't make sense, this kind of behavior. It's very old-fashioned. Unfortunately, there is a lot of people still doing that, including young people.
Yeah.
It's not only about age. Okay, it's silly. It's silly, you know. It's just like if you keep ideas, like I've learned when I was doing some art course, that the more you use your creativity, the more ideas you get.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so keeping up certain knowledge for yourself, not to share with the student, and this and that, is so silly.
Yeah.
You know, I have no faith. Like if I know, it's just ask. If I know, I answer. If I don't know, I maybe I'll know someone that answers. It makes it much simpler. And like that, actually, I get quite a lot of answers back as well. Because
yeah, exactly. That's how it works. It works both ways.
Yeah.
So, question from Lynne. What exactly is a waste sheet used for in binding, either in a new book or repair?
Okay.
And I guess we both prepared some stuff for that.
Yeah. Okay. A waste sheet, a waste sheet normally is a waste. Something like a silly piece of paper, but you're going to have a function, and normally it's protection. Let's say that you want to, this is a book, and you want to glue this.
Yeah.
But if you're going to put here like the glue, it might migrate to the rest of the book.
To the book block, yeah.
So normally you put a piece of paper under.
Yeah.
This is the waste paper, and then sometimes you have waste paper that you're gonna build up to make the back of the spine of the book. You need a little bit thicker, for example, when you're doing a French style binding.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you need that, so you have waste paper there. That this paper, before you're gonna glue the paste down, this is paste down, and this is the free end leaf.
Yeah.
Before you do that, you're gonna take this paper away. So it is garbage paper.
Yeah.
It's a protection paper that you're gonna use.
Yeah.
Very, very, very important, people. It's learn terminology. Even if it's just for your hobby, learn the official terminology of things, because when you ask people a question and they get an answer to you, it's gonna be much easier for you to understand, because you're gonna go to that specific point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And it's
maybe at the end of the video you give them the legatus.org link, and I normally tell people get this book as well.
Okay, I guess I can put the link as well.
Yeah, that is very nice, because it tells a lot about book parts and what's the official terminology. for that one.
Yeah, and I also was taught that for some projects, so I have this unfinished book that remains unfinished for almost 5 years, and for example, when we were making covers, I was taught that you can make sort of a pocket that will cover your full book block, because it's a French binding, so it's not that the cover is separate and the book block is separate part, and then they are glued together. It's built up from pages up to the cover. So at some point you need to protect your book block, and you can create sort of a paper pocket that covers the book block and protects it from paste or glue or whatever you use, or paints. And the other thing, and it still remains in this book, it's not very visible because it's translucent. It's a mylar page that is temporarily attached to the back and front of this book block to once again to protect the outer pages of the book block. And then when the binding is finished, the mylar pages are removed, as well as, by the way, the end leaf, the waste paper or some other stuff. And so there are several different ways of using not only waste paper but also plastics and other protective materials, and not only just a sheet of paper but making a pocket or something like that. So there are several different approaches. They complement each other and they are interchangeable in some situations. So
and we're going, especially like in French bind, sometimes you have this nice edge decoration. I saw that you made it with graphite, right?
It's graphite.
The graphite, and when you're working the last part, that's the covering of the book, you can damage. So that's also, you put all this protection to not damage the beautiful decoration that it is done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice done, huh?
Thank you. Yeah, never finished it. I also during, I don't know if you can see here, small golden decorations. I made it later when I had maybe this will work better.
Oh, I see, tooling. Nice.
I had a gold tooling workshop in my studio in Moscow, and I just added some smaller details, and here on the.
I see. Nice.
Yeah. So this part as well, and just some simple stuff, but I still need to finish the book. I need to glue the covers to the block.
I have a lot of this project as well. Like,
yeah.
I start to get enthusiastic and then I never finish.
Someday, yeah. So the next one, I guess, comes from Brazil, and I guess I will butcher the name, but maybe Eliane will help me with this question from Vinícius Rennó, or how?
Rennó?
Rennó. Vinícius Rennó?
Rennó, Vinícius Rennó.
Okay.
Tell me.
How can I study book restoration coming from Brazil? If not here, where is the most affordable place to study abroad?
Book restoration actually is not a very cheap to do it. Different modules. You have to go to professional associations. Try to connect with the ABA in São Paulo, the Association of Bookbinders, in São Paulo. Maybe they can give you some tips. I do not know the market, and I do not know how the study is done in this area in Brazil.
Yeah.
But from what the few I know, it's university level. I do not know the technical level, how it goes. So I think it's the best way to connect to them. It is here in Europe, you can have a university, you can have more technical degrees, and on, depends on which country. It's not a regulation. But you will have always to make all these courses. So once you finish your course, you're not finished. You keep on studying.
Yeah.
So if you want to take book restoration seriously as a hobby or as a profession, be prepared to spend money on. The courses are expensive. The fun course is about using different and innovative techniques. They're expensive. And that means as well that you're going to have to go sometimes to a location to learn it. Not everything, because it's about your hands as well. How do you use your hands?
Yeah.
How do you see the people using their hands and accessing the issues and problems. And
yeah, so you have to study in location.
And you have to go bit by bit, or you have to get at university and starting getting, just like more the conservator level. I'll tell people, if you really like it, it's fascinating. It's very rewarding. But yeah, there is a lot of investment. You're not going to become rich.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to treat books that you can hardly even dream about having one of those.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
If Vinícius have any other further question, he can even connect me with in Portuguese.
Yeah.
So we can chat.
Yeah, I also wanted to say that you probably don't need to go all the way to becoming a conservator or book restorer. You can go forward and try some book repair techniques. You just may want to acknowledge the principles that are used by book restorers and book conservators, and just start with simpler tasks. But anyway, to know how to make good repairs, it's still not enough to just watch some YouTube videos and to read some books. Reading books is good, but hands-on experience that comes from a teacher, from a tutor, is so important. And
so like when I see those YouTube videos, that's how you fix a linen, binding.
Yeah.
I just like it. I was saying, please don't. That's like, if you do it for yourself, then it is your own responsibility, but don't put this out there for other people, because it's like you make it, I'll say it's I think that, like, for example, I never ever call myself a conservator. I'm not a conservator because I'm not trained as a conservator. I'm a restorer.
Yeah.
I'm a technician. Okay. There are things that the conservators do that I can do as well, and most of the things that I can do, a conservator can do it. So there is step further on that part. What I bring difference because I have a bookbinding, as a background.
Yeah.
So that gives them an advantage. Not all conservators actually are bookbinders. They follow a path that's different.
Yeah. So, they may specialize with some sort of materials, I don't know, leather, cloth, and so on. So they may be quite focused on some parts of book objects and bookish objects.
And depends on where you've learned, that they might be able to store and conserve a French binding, but they will not know how to make a French binding themselves.
Yeah.
Yes, and so that is all this thing. And a lot of the skills it is not a YouTube video that's going to teach you.
Yeah, that's true.
And also understand, you do you like chemistry? You don't like it? Don't get involved, because you're going to have to deal with chemistry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to deal with other aspects as well. Restoration and conservation is more scientific than it is artistic.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
Well, yeah, it's fun if you like it. Yeah. Okay. Next one, question from Peter Triska. A question is about headbands. How do you get the ends to hide so you don't see them when you open the book, especially when leather covers are involved?
It's a bit difficult without pictures.
Yeah, I already answered.
I'm not sure if I understand what he means about hiding or hiding.
I think that
maybe we can tackle that, if you put pictures.
Yes, sometimes when
sincerely, I think that is like a bookbinder, with more experience than me in bookbinding itself, would be a better person to answer.
I think that sometimes when you see some mass-produced books, you can see that when you open the book, the edges, the ends of the end bands may be seen, and they are not sort of fitting the book cover perfectly. But it really the answer to this video really needs to include photos and maybe a video.
Sometimes you can also go in a little bit of a slope. You have the spine and you go a little bit in a slope down.
Yeah.
You see that into this kind of technique into the what's the name? My favorite one, spring back.
Yeah.
The way spring back, the headbands and spring back attach it.
Yeah.
You know, there are some online tutorials on spring back that shows that.
Yeah.
And people can give a look. That's also a nice tip that you can try to adapt to other binding types.
Yeah.
But without the picture, it's difficult to say if that's exactly what the person means.
Yeah. But then in the end, it all goes down to fitting the parts perfectly and you know, measuring everything so that it's not too much and not enough.
No.
So yeah.
And you know that the perfection in bookbinding is relatively new. A lot of very old books, they they are not straight.
Yeah. That's true. Protection was the most important, not the. Yeah.
And that depends on the budget of the client.
Yeah.
And they were very good in limiting the resources.
Faster, cheaper, or more expensive and better.
And paper was extremely expensive.
Yeah.
Paper was expensive commodity, so they would recycle as much as possible.
Oh yeah, that's true. This question came while we were already recording these videos, and, so it was a lucky chance that I saw it. It's a question from Janet Mente.
I know the librarian.
Yeah?
I know her.
Okay.
She's in Rome.
Okay, this is even funnier.
She's like, this is nice.
This is even better. So it's two questions really, and one is for you, and the second one I guess is for me. What's the most satisfying part of your job as a binder restorer?
Actually, when I deliver the book.
Yeah.
Is when the person look at that and make like, that's unbeatable. That's unbeatable. I had people hugging me, kissing me. You know, now Corona times you can't.
Yeah.
But especially when you're dealing with books with a lot of sentimental value, and people get back, that's really unbeatable feeling. That's the best feeling you can have.
Yeah, that's true.
Big kiss to Janet. She works in the Royal Academy, in the Dutch Royal Academy in Rome. I've met her last year.
Okay.
When I went for a workshop that they organized on photo conservation.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's really fun.
That's another completely different area because photo conservation is something special.
No, I went purely to understand what it takes, not to do it myself.
Yeah.
You know.
And I will
get question for you.
I will get something to answer the second question. Just a moment. The second question, a technical question: how would you use the 3D printed spine rounding tool? And I brought some of them here. So it's it's something like this, a tool with different round shapes all around it, or there are different versions. I also have a wooden tool here that I made while I still had my woodworking workshop back in Moscow. So it's pretty similar, lots of diameters and. This is a pretty large tool, so it's something like 40 centimeters long or something like that. And the principle is the same for the 3D printed tools or for the wooden tools. It doesn't really matter. And as far as I know, there are two approaches to using them. The first one is for rounding spines of covers for case bindings. When you have a book cover prepared to be put on a book block, you put it in the you put the spine of this book cover. I don't have a book cover right now, but so you put the spine of the book cover inside of the groove, and then you use some pestle or something, some stick or I don't know, some device to rub it in, and to make the spine round. It stays this way because usually you have something like, I don't know, maybe leather or cloth or as covering material as for the cover, and it's lined with paper or something like that. So it's not a very thin material, and it will keep the form, the rounded form, and then it easier goes over the rounded book block. So that's the first use for the rounding blocks, rounding tools. Doesn't matter, 3D printed or made with wood. The other thing that I saw that people use it this way, but I never did this myself, is that they take a book block. This book block is already glued, so you can't read around it. But they take a book block that isn't yet glued. They put it inside of the groove, so that the sections will follow the pattern and they will round a bit, because the stitching will allow them to shift just a bit. Then they sort of press it together, turn around, and glue while the form is still intact, and you get a rounded spine for the book. But yeah, many professionals would say that it's not a proper way to make a rounded spine. And well,
yeah, because in that method, the foredge, you need to use something like that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you can form it.
Yeah.
But the points, they have to be aligned.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be used as a tool to help. Yeah. But then you will have to check.
Yeah.
If it's
square, yeah. But then these are two uses that I know of, and I used these tools quite a lot in the first situation to round the spines of cases for book blocks. Never used it in the second situation, but once again I saw that some people do that, and well, maybe
it could be used as well to form a round spine.
Maybe you can also, there is the other thing that we discussed with Ben Elbel, that sometimes rounded spines are made for books, for perfect bound books. So for books made of single sheets, single leaves. And maybe you can use the rounding tool for this type of books as well, because so you make the round shape, you put the book block, unglued book block in the rounding tool, make the round shape, then you press it, turn it around, and you can fan and glue the pages. Once again, it's a different technique from what we discussed with Ben, because Ben talked about gluing the book block first and then backing it with a hammer. And and that's a proper way. But once again, I know that some people use rounding tools this way. So yeah, that's the answer. And we went through almost all of the questions. We have only one last question left. Well, two last questions, but coming from the same person. It's a question from Tzvi Liberman. What methods are used for restoring the physical page of a book if a piece is missing? Is there any way to mix up new matching paper pulp and fill in the gaps? That's the first question from this person.
Yeah. Okay. What do we do with? This is a missing paper. We're going to get a paper to kind of match what is missing. You're not going to reconstruct text and everything. You're just going to end up and putting, for example, Japanese paper. We use that a lot because Japanese paper have very long fibers, a very strong paper, despite being very thin.
Yeah.
So that is one of the things that we do it. We normally cut Japanese paper with a watercolor pencil. This water here. That means that there is a water line, and then you take it by hand, so you have all these fibers.
Yeah,
and these fibers gonna compose very well with the old paper.
Yeah, and there is no straight cut, because straight cut will create a step, and step will bring to breaking the paper at the
normally we cut with water, or we cut it by hand.
Yeah.
So that you have like that effect.
I never thought about using a watercolor pen, because I always used brushes. But this is smart.
For example, I will show here. This is the effect when you cut by hand.
Yeah.
I think that maybe you can see that there is some little fibers.
Yeah, yeah.
Not sure if you can see it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is much better.
And then when you cut it with a water, I just placed a line with water, not sure you see here.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you cut, and you can see here the amount of fibers.
Yeah.
Those fibers, they're gonna be glued together in the other pages, so to make the transition very smooth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there will be no step, because this step is just an oval.
But you have to find the right weight of the paper.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like we say Japanese paper, you know, normally made from mulberry tree.
Yeah.
The Japanese would call a washi, you know, that means paper. And the fiber is kozo from the mulberry. And they have a different grams, the grammage difference, the color is different. You have from a little bit whitish to a little bit darker colors. You can find a Japanese paper as dark as this one. If you see compared to the other one, there is a difference in shade.
Well, I can see that there is difference, but yeah, it's not contrast enough. Yeah, yeah, that's much better. Yeah.
But there are different shades, and then you have to match that shade to be a nice and neat match.
Yeah.
So normally we use that one. That's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, and for sure there are ways to fill in lost parts with paper pulp, but it's much more trickier process, and
you need a machine.
On every step, yeah, because you need to get the right mix. You need to get the right color of the mix.
Yeah, a vacuum that it creates under. Yeah. And the lithic casting machine is this huge machine, very expensive.
Yeah.
That's normally the big restoration ateliers or the big institutions would have access to a leaf casting machine.
Yeah.
And it is not economical to do it for one page. So when you're going to do leaf casting, you're going to be doing it at a production scale.
Yeah.
And you're going to use pulp, cellulose pulp, to do that. I do not know how to do it. I don't have a leaf casting machine, but I saw it, and but it is possible to use pulp.
Yeah.
That they use it.
And I suppose it's possible to do it by hand, but it's so tricky because you need to without a vacuum table or something. You will never get it perfectly flat. There will be imperfections and
be like a whoop.
Yeah.
I've learned that someone told me that I could do a kind of a leaf casting machine using developing a frame and using a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
To create the suction.
Yeah.
But I never tried myself. I think. So yeah.
Yeah.
There is. I don't even have space to get another contraction here.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the second one, the last questions for today. How do you prevent the end paper wrinkling when gluing in the text block? The books I have bound all end up with a crease in the end paper on the cover side, usually near the fold.
I think I know what is that one. Do you know that even like in the past they had that problem? Look, it's very tricky. Sometimes I get the same issue. But I think that this would be a best way if ever someone can get and show the whole process and how you're going to score it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it happens when you have a certain binds and you in between I'll pick up a book again. This part here gets a crease.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you have a book like this that is just very simple, they won't get it. But you will get sometimes on French bindings, because of the gluing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get in the Bradel as well. You get that kind of issue because the problem is you open, you glue it, and then you go back. When you go back, there is that crease.
Yeah.
It's an ugly crease, So what I tell you is like get a good set of instructions of. I don't have it by my head, so that's why I'm not going to tell you now. Get the real good steps of how to make the book and follow to the letter.
Yeah.
Because I remember that you have actually to put something there and put it under pressure and wait. And some of them you have to dry it open. To get not to get the crease. And you have to, glue 24 hours. If you use any glue, it's about 24 hours drying time.
Yeah.
Follow the instructions.
I wanted to say that that's a good advice to find some instructions that will work for you and to follow them and to try different types of instructions from different tutorials or different videos or something like that. But what worked for me is just not moving too fast, and at least in the beginning, not moving too fast and checking every smallest step that everything goes fine, and then just finding this balance between speed and good result, and just following the same pattern time and time again, and then it at some point you stop making this mistake, and it starts to work all the time.
I heard once that from Benjamin. He was also doing these meet and greets in his atelier.
Yeah. And
one of these greeting meetings, I've met that American bookbinder, Daniel Kelm. And I remember doing the meet and greeting, he was showing his work, very, very, very interesting. And he said that if you're doing like a proper bookbinding, your speed, unless you're doing commercially, like educating simple stuff, you're gonna consider speed.
Yeah.
But if you're doing a really nice one, you're not rushing it.
Yeah.
You want it perfect.
Yeah.
So then you follow each step to perfection.
Yeah, exactly.
And to get to that is practice.
Yeah. So I guess that's it.
Be patient.
Yeah.
Keep on working.
Yeah. Sometimes maybe a bit drier glue will help as well. Not as moist glue, because moist glues and pastes will make your paper wrinkle even without any additional inhibitions.
Try to get acquainted to all sorts of kind of types of glues that there are and how they behave. Remember when I was talking about testing?
Yeah.
The best thing when you have different glues, test the paper, test in advance. Don't go at the last moment and just in your final product and decide to do the test there. No, test it before. So then when you arrive to that step in your book, you already know a little bit what to expect.
That's true. Testing always helps. If you have the possibility to test, because sometimes you just don't have enough materials, and then you have to work with what you have.
Even if you test a little bit, so sometimes all you need is just a little part to test it. To see how it behaves. You don't have to make a zillion mock books or a zillion plates of each, because it's a waste of material.
Yeah. That's true.
Even every Japanese paper that I use, like sometimes I have these little parts that are left over. I put it apart and I recycle. When I have to make a restoration of a wood piece that's missing, I make papier-mâché out of these little pieces that are left over.
Yeah.
So to compose something else. So don't waste material. Use it.
Yeah.
Don't store it as well.
Yeah.
Use it, but test it.
So I guess that's it with our main part. We answered all the questions. At least I hope that we answered all the questions.
If they have questions, just come back and we try to answer, or maybe to forward to someone else that's better to answer.
Yeah. And I have some more announcements to make. This video appears on YouTube, as well as our other videos appear on YouTube's YouTube channel, along with live streams and some other stuff. So subscribe to iBookBinding on YouTube. You can also subscribe to our newsletter on the website to get updates about the next videos and to ask questions in time. To send questions to our next guests. If you have any thoughts on who would be a perfect guest for us some of next times, you can also write some comments. And that's the question I want to address to Eliane as well, because I know that you wanted to name some names.
Yeah. Well, I think that it would be really nice to have Rita Udina, you know, from Spain.
Yeah, and it's already confirmed that she's our next guest next week. So yeah, we will definitely talk with her. Yeah.
Yeah, but that she's I think people are really gonna like it, you know, to have a chat with Rita. Yeah, you know, I like her very much. You know, she's fun. She tells a lot of things from her heart. She loves the profession, and she's a conservator. You know, she's a really good one. Another person that maybe if you can get, that would be very interesting to hear from the Netherlands is Marchelma van Breugel and Bert Rietjes. You know, they are a couple. They are in the Papyrus Boekbinderij in Leiden.
In Leiden, nearby.
The interesting part is that she's a bookbinder. She also teaches, and Bert is into typography.
Yeah.
So they kind of can combine both sides of the printing and the making, and they are very nice people, you know, very good professionals, you know, and they have quite a lot of experience to tell about.
Oh yeah, and they are teachers, so.
And they are teachers, they are teachers.
They know how to talk about these things.
Yeah, and maybe a lot of the questions that people ask me today, they would be much better, get better answers from them, because they really know how to get it, you know, into that teaching mode. I don't have it that much. So I'm sorry for everybody if I didn't really get the question.
I think it went well today.
If anything is needed, I'm open. You know, people can always contact.
Yeah. And I guess the last thing is to decide who is the winner of the giveaway, who will get a set of magnetic corner clamps. What was your favorite question?
I really liked the question about the unexpected material, you know, unexpected tools. You know, I like that one, really called my attention because it is, I like it, the question. I could talk about something.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's like, I love my tools, you know, and that, because I'm always using new tools, and believe me, sometimes I have projects and I come with you, Stefan, now I need to get a tool. We work on a couple of things together because I get into trouble and I need to solve a problem, and we have to find a tool. So I love my tools. And
I love this discussion process because it's great to you know, to exchange ideas and to perfect the tools during the discussions and some first testing steps. So yeah, it's really important.
And I love testing new tools.
Yeah.
I love that part as well.
Okay. Thank you very much for talking to me today, and thanks a lot for your story, for your answers, and for the discussion. I had a great time. It was a blast. Once again, once again, thanks a lot to our community, to everyone who sent us questions, and to everyone who watches this video, and to everyone who supports iBookBinding on Patreon. And see you next time.
See you next time, guys.
Bye.
Good luck.